the bhajan Jai Radha Madhava. So, before we get into the Bhagavatam, let's just sing this prayer. It's not very difficult to understand this prayer, so it's just because in this material world we all have names, but all those names don't have any meaning. But whatever name that Krishna has very deep meaning, and those meanings are based on his activities. So, like Gopijana Vallabha, like who's the dearest of the gopis, like that. Every name, like Girivaradhari, like who took the Giri Govardhan in his hand, like that. Every name of Krishna is based on the activities that he performs, and every name has its own pastimes. Just by suppose, people have very funny names these days, right? Like, funny one or something like that is the name of a person. But by reciting that name, it doesn't make any sense, it doesn't have any meaning. But just by chanting any name of Krishna, we get purified. Whether we chant it knowingly or unknowingly, or even for fun, if we just chant Krishna's name, we'll get purified. So let's sing the song which glorifies the activities of Krishna. It's just filled with his names. And by chanting this, all our anarthas, all our contaminations in the heart will go away. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Gopijana Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamuna Tira Vanachari, Yamunatira vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Navallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira vanachari. Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira vanachari. Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira vanachari. Yamunatira vanachari. Yamunatira vanachari. Let's start with the invocation prayers. Invocation prayers are there to invoke the blessings of all the previous acharyas, because it is said that we can repay all the debt that we have to our parents, to our relatives, to our friends, and to so many things we are indebted to in this world. And we can pray for, we can repay the debt for to all these souls simply by giving something in return. But there is one thing for which it's very difficult to repay. It's for the sages who are constantly praying for the welfare of all of us, whether we are related to them or not. They just pray for the welfare of all living beings, and we cannot repay them just by giving something. We can repay them only by reading their scriptures and accompanying them in their lives. So before we do anything, we should get their blessings so we can speak for their pleasure and hear for their pleasure. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhu? Yes, please. Prabhu, before we go there, can you go to the first verse so we can recite the verse, the first verse of 422, Bhagavata. Fourth canto, it's of 22nd chapter. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswati vyasam tato jayamudirayet. So, today we are going to discuss about Pṛthu Mahāraja's meeting with the four Kumāras. So the pastime goes like this. Pṛthu Mahārāja, there was a king called King Vena, and he was pretty much a rogue, but there was no reason why they can stop him from ruling the country, the world actually, because a bad king is better than no king. Because if there is a king, at least the rogues and the thieves will be kept silent, right? So Vena was ruling for a long time, but then he started disrespecting all the sages, and he started declaring that there should be temples for him alone and he should be worshipped. So seeing all his arrogant behavior, the sages, the Brahmanas, thought that he's not fit to rule the world. So they killed him. How did they kill him? Not by any weapon, just by uttering the mantra, a word. So the words are so powerful, that's why we have to be careful what we speak. So they uttered the word and they killed Vena, and they churned the body of King Vena, because they have to have the next king. And in those days, the kings come from the lineage, right? In the same family, Kshatriya family. So they churned the thigh of the Vena. It might seem like, why did they do that? Or people might think that it's like a fantasy or something like that. But it's actually not, because even today we see how so many things are happening, advances are happening in the medical science, that they are even able to do things like this, like incubating the baby and like making the baby come in a tube and things like that. But they churned, and then from there came two personalities. One is Maharaja Pṛthu and other is Archie. So they are nothing. They are none other than the incarnations of Vishnu and his consort Lakshmi. So after that, because of the rule of King Vena, all the Brahmanas and everybody, the entire world was in famine because the earth did not produce enough milk, enough grains, and so many sufferings were happening in the world. So as soon as King Pṛthu appeared, he was enthroned. All the demigods came and they performed his ceremony of, it's not like what it happens today, what it happened a couple of weeks ago in Washington, right? Like how he was given the post of the president of USA. But in those days, it's filled with the blessings from the demigods. The demigods used to come to the earth and they attended the coronation ceremony of Maharaja Pṛthu, and they gave him a lot of gift. So, and then he was installed in the throne, and because he was exactly like Krishna, like Vishnu, and he had all the qualities, all the godly qualities. And then the citizens came and told him that they are in famine because of the earth not producing enough. So he chastised the earth, and then he made the earth produce enough grains, enough, like all the grains, minerals, everything that a human being wants is there inside the earth. And Prabhupada says that there is no question of, population explosion. There is nothing like that. It's just that population explosion is created, it means the scarcity, and everything is created by mismanagement in the distribution of grains and everything, because people don't cooperate, because there is so much grain in one country that people waste and throw it in the ocean, while in other countries people are starving. But why wouldn't they allow this grain to be shared with people in there? Because there are so many trade regulations and laws and so many things where people cannot share. So all these things create problem because of the envy and greed within people's heart. That's what is creating scarcity. And Pṛthu Mahārāja did so many things, like how when the government comes, I heard that even Trump is saying that how he would generate revenue for United States of America is by building, he says that all our railway system and airports are like 10 years or 100 years old, and in Asian countries, like the airports are really new and they are more brighter than what we have here. So he wants to rebuild all the things like infrastructure. But the original infrastructure of laying the roads and planning the cities like that was done by Maharaja Pṛthu many millions of years ago. So it's not that only modern science does that. Whatever modern science does that, it's just a perverted reflection of what all our ancestors are completely aware of. There is nothing new that they are performing that our previous ancestors and the rulers in India have not done that. So he provided the infrastructure, he provided a nice place for citizens to live, and then he started performing yajna, and he performed Aswamedha yajna. Aswamedha yajna is so powerful that if you perform 100 of those yajnas, you will become the king of heaven. So when he was performing the 100th yajna, because whenever we start performing some austerities, we get disturbances, right? As long as we don't do anything, there is no problem. But the moment you make a goal that I will chant every day, or I will not eat meat, or whatever goal you make a plan and you want to move forward, immediately what happens? We get obstacles. Or maybe those obstacles are there before, but we never noticed. But then we face tremendous amount of obstacles, right? And it's also said that the demigods also watch the activities that we are performing, right? They say that the sun and the moon are the witness for this you have done and things like that. So all the demigods are watching what we are doing. So Indra always gets anxious when any living entity performs exemplary sacrifices, because even though he is in heaven and he is the lord of all the demigods who are living in heaven, he is still anxious. The anxiety is not gone because the heart is still in the enjoyment mentality. So, Jai Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. So what he did, he took the form of a sannyasi, a fake sannyasi. He put saffron dress and he came as a he didn't take sannyas at that time. He came and he stole the horse, and then because as part of the yajna you have to send the horse to all the kings in the world, and everybody should accept in your supremacy and in your rule. They should accept that you are their leader. Unless it is declared, you cannot do that. But Pṛthu Mahārāja was so powerful. So, but then of the 100th yajna, Indra did this. He came and he stole the horse. And then Pṛthu Mahārāja's son chased him. And then because he was in the form of a sannyasi, then the Pṛthu Mahārāja said don't kill him because he is kind of a sannyasi. So this is the start of the fake sannyas that we see in this material world. Like how we see so many sannyasis, they wear the sannyas dress and they'll have a pot, begging pot. But then you just go there and in the back of their lives they'll smoke ganja. They may not follow the regulatory principles. So Indra started that, because from that time only the whole cheating propensity, the cheating sannyasis, the lineage started from there. And then when the Brahmanas were about to recite the mantra to kill him, at that time Vishnu appeared in the sacrifice. And what did he say? He said, first Brahma appeared and then Vishnu came, and then they said that you should not kill Indra because he is still the leader of the heaven, so you should just, give up and cooperate. And Pṛthu Mahārāja was willing to do that. But how many of us would be willing to do that? Because we work so hard and we are entitled to get something. In fact, Pṛthu Mahārāja was not doing those to get the position of heaven. He was just doing the sacrifice to please Krishna. But then we get very angry, right? We do a small thing, and if we don't get the credit or if we don't get the result, we become very frustrated and we try to blame it on others, and then we become very angry. Pṛthu Mahārāja didn't do anything like that, because the success of sacrifice is in pleasing Krishna. So, just by obeying to what Vishnu said, he got what he wanted. He attained the ultimate purpose of performing the sacrifice. And even the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the topmost sacrifice. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan ki Jai. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that of all the sacrifices, I am not Asvamedha, not Gomedha, not any other yajna that's mentioned in the scriptures. Of all the sacrifice, I am japa. He's saying the chanting of the holy names. So, it's not that whatever benefit that one gets by doing the Asvamedha yajna, we can get in this age of Kali by chanting the holy names of Krishna. But you may ask oh, I don't do anything, I don't have any paraphernalia, I don't even have the physical and the financial and so many spiritual qualifications to perform such yajna. How can you say that simply by chanting the holy names I can get the benefit of such great yajnas, where people used to spend so much amount of wealth and their power in executing those yajnas. In fact, they'll perform Asvamedha yajna, like even you can see how Yudhishthira performed the Rajasuya sacrifice, right? Because it shows that their power and their opulence. That's why they do it. But how will I get the same thing just by sitting in the room and chanting the holy names of Krishna? Nobody even sees. But you try it. It does happen. If we chant simply to please Krishna, we will get the benefit much, much more than what all those yajnas give. So that's why it's very important that we chant the holy names all the time, and we will get all the benefits that all the yajnas give simply by chanting the holy names. Okay? So now in that yajna, Vishnu appeared, and then Vishnu said that oh, don't do this, Pṛthu. Let's stop this. Let's not do this. So by that Pṛthu Mahārāja, apparently it may seem like to the external world Pṛthu Mahārāja lost because he couldn't do the 100th yajna. But in fact, Pṛthu Mahārāja is success is clear because he pleased Lord Vishnu. He pleased Lord Vishnu. So he was satisfied. At that time, Maharaja Pṛthu Vishnu predicted that Maharaja Pṛthu will see the 4 Kumāras. Now let's see who are these 4 Kumāras. These 4 Kumāras are the babies who are like 5 years old. They are eternally 5 years old. They just remain like that. And we will see why they remain like that and all when we are discussing. So, and then now we are at the chapter where, as Vishnu predicted, the 4 Kumāras did come to Pṛthu's kingdom, and they are discussing very nice and very practical and instructions that the Sanat Kumara gives to Maharaj Pṛthu. The answers that he gives are very relevant today. Are very relevant. It's not like because it happened millions of years ago, it doesn't apply to us today. Like if, for example, if we have the newspaper, right? Do you know anyone who stores the newspapers for years and years? If you throw the newspaper, people just take the newspaper and see the date. And if it was yesterday's date, it goes to the trash, right? Because it's not relevant. It's not new anymore. But Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, every day, same instruction, but every day it appears new. Because, and also there is an urge, right? Like, where do we get news? Where do we get news? Because we have so much media, like through, and so much also medium through which they send the news, right? The same news comes in the TV, in the webcast, in your mobile phone, and so many ways, podcasts. But then people sometimes feel like if nothing is happening, and all news is bad news, and if something is not happening in the material world, people are like, what news do I provide? But it's very difficult to generate the news in this material world. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that with the news from the spiritual world is unending, because every moment new things are happening. It's ever fresh, because we may see that we have 1,000 names of Lord Vishnu, right? Vishnu Sahasranam. Vishnu Sahasranam is like a small thing, because since time immemorial, Anantasesha, with his unlimited hoods, with every mouth, he is chanting the names of Krishna, and he doesn't repeat the name, and he is still not done with that. Krishna performs so many activities. So it's never ending, and it's ever fresh, and it's always pleasing to the soul. And that is the name is the main thing that will help us overcome anxiety, depression, stress. Any disease that we have can be overcome by hearing such news from the spiritual world. So this is one such news. The Sanat Kumāras came to meet Pṛthu and they are discussing. So when we hear the discussion between two great devotees, we get benefited. So let's read the first verse and then we'll go into the first verse purport and translations, and then we'll go into the whole chapter. Prabhu, let's go to the verse. Yes. Maitreya uvacha. Please repeat. Vijitashvo adirajasit. Tasva adirajasit. Pṛthu putraha Pṛthu shrava. Yaviyobhyo adadat kashta. Bhratribhyo bhratrvatsalah. Maitreya uvacha. Maitreya continued to speak. Please repeat. Vijitashvaha. Of the name Vijitashva. Adiraja. The emperor. Asit. Asit. Became. Pṛthu putraha. The son of Maharaja Pṛthu. Pṛthu shrava. Of great activities. Yavi yobhyaha. Unto the younger brothers. Adadat. Offered. Kashtaha. Different directions. Bhratribhyaha. Unto the brothers. Bhratrvatsalaha. Very affectionate to the brothers. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued. Vijitasva, the eldest son of Maharaj Pṛthu, who had a reputation like his father's, became emperor. Prabhu, I think you went to 24th chapter instead of 22nd. Okay, anyways, let's finish the translation. And gave his younger brothers different direction of the world to govern, for he was very affectionate toward his brothers. 22, Prabhu. Yes. Maitreya uvacha. Janeshu pragrinastvevam. Pṛthum Pṛthula vikramam. Tatro pajagmur munayash. Chatvaraha surya varchasaha. Maitreya uvacha. The great sage Maitreya continued. Janeshu, the citizens. Pragrinatsu, while praying for. Evam, thus. Pṛthum, unto Maharaj Pṛthu. Pṛthula, highly. Vikramam, powerful. Tatra, there. Upajagmuhu, arrived. Munayaha, the Kumāras. Chatvaraha, four. Surya, as the sun. Varchasaha, bright. Translation. The great sage Maitreya said, while the citizens were thus praying to the most powerful King Pṛthu, the four Kumāras, who were as bright as the sun, arrived on the spot. So, the Kumāras have arrived. So now let's continue. Prabhu, can I get the control? Okay. So, Pṛthu Mahārāja meeting with the four Kumāras. I'm sorry, it's 422. It's my mistake. Okay. So here is a summary of the chapter. From the first 16 verses, it talks about how Pṛthu Mahārāja received the Kumāras and what did he inquire from them. And then the next set of slokas explain what are the answers that Sanat Kumara gave. And then when they leave, Pṛthu Mahārāja praises the Kumāras, and then the Pṛthu Mahārāja's glorious rule and what is his activities, everything is glorified at the end of the chapter. So this gives a summary of how we should inquire from a saintly person, right? We should first receive them and then ask questions from them, and then we should praise them and thank them for whatever knowledge they have given. Now, Pṛthu Mahārāja's reception of the Kumāras. So we just read, right, how the Kumāras arrived. Let me also start another. I won't be able to share. Okay, I don't have the internet connection. It's okay. Okay. I'll also read the purport in between, just to enhance the nectar of how Pṛthu Mahārāja received the Kumāras. Okay, sure. But I'll let you know, Prabhu. Yes, thank you. So in the second verse, it is said that, seeing the glowing effulgence of the four Kumāras, the masters of all mystic power, the king and his associates could recognize them as they descended from the sky. So, the Pṛthu Mahārāja is coming, and then the citizens and the king were able to recognize that they are Kumāras. Like, there are so many kids, right, who are 5 years old. How can you say that they are not Kumāras? Because of the effulgence that comes from their face. So Prabhupada always used to say that anybody, no matter what condition of life he is in, the moment he takes to Krishna consciousness and he starts chanting the holy names, the face becomes effulgent. And Prabhupada says, like, when they go out and distribute books, people get attracted to the effulgence because that effulgence comes from the soul. And we can see that sparkling in the eyes of a spiritual person, because you can see that their eyes, because the eyes are like windows to the soul. So any like cow or anything that's being killed, right? If you see it in its eyes, you can see the pain that the living entity goes through. So they saw the effulgence of these 5 Kumāras, and they know that these are the Kumāras, they're descending from the sky. And how are these 5 boys descending from the sky? That we need airplanes, right, to travel from one place to another. But in the spiritual world, the technology is so high, just by thinking they can be in that place. We also see how, and the communication also happens at that through mental level. When the demigods face problem, like how when we face problem, like people go to the embassy or and then they submit their request, right? Like that, when the demigods face some problem, they go to the shores they go to Brahma and they take him, their leader, and they take him to the shores of the milk ocean, and they sit on the shores and they meditate on Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu appears. It's like that. So Prabhupada even said that material science will go to that such extents that, like cell phone, how many of us would have believed that something like that would exist like 100 years ago or 200 years ago, right? But it's happening today. The material science, like machine learning and artificial intelligence, and this virtual reality, like it's so many improvements material science is going, but unfortunately it's taking us away from Krishna. But everything should be used in service of Krishna. So these 4 Kumāras, they descended from the sky, and they didn't need any airplanes or anything like that. They just appeared. And how did they get this strength? And then Prabhupada says in the purport that they are siddhas, because they have all the siddhis. Anybody who performs, who chants the holy names, they get the 8 mystic siddhis. They don't want that, but if they want, they can use that. You understand? So these Kumāras have those siddhis, like becoming smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, all those things. Like they can hold the rays of the sun and enter into the sun, like that. So that much, one person gets that power just by practicing spiritual things. They don't need to do anything external, because the soul is so powerful. And the more one realizes the purity, that he is a soul, the more he gains all this. He unleashes the power of his real power of the soul. So all these siddhis, because of that, they were able to travel. And who is the other spaceman who can travel? Can you name another spaceman? Yeah, please say it in the mic. Yeah.
Narada Muni.
Yes. And also, it is not that saintly persons just go anywhere and everywhere, because means they do go, but there should be a real purpose. But here Prabhupada says that they ordinarily do not go to any place which is very sinful. They don't go. But Maharaja Pṛthu was sinless. And that's why he attracted even the Kumāras. The like attracts like. Like if you see the flies, right? No matter if the entire room is full of flowers, but there is a small trash, the fly would go there, right? But if the whole place is full of trash, if there is one flower, the honeybee will go there. Like that. We saintly persons get attracted to good things. And we should also see, I was hearing in Radhanath Swami's lecture, how our consciousness at every moment should also be checked, whether we are honeybee or a fly, because depending on where it runs, like on what subject matter it runs after. So that determines whether we are saintly or we are not saintly or materialistic. And then in the 3rd paragraph, like how much eagerness was there for those Pṛthu Mahārāja and its citizens to receive Maharaj Pṛthu. Like the example that Prabhupada says is that a person whose senses are not controlled, right? If you put a food in front of, like even for us, if the food is put in front of us, unknowingly the saliva comes in the mouth, right? Because the senses run to enjoy. And then like that, how the senses of an uncontrolled person will run towards the sense object for enjoyment. It may seem like a negative connotation, but it's a very nice analogy, because then Prabhupada says that like that, Krishna, Pṛthu Mahārāja and his citizens' heart ran to receive the Kumāras. They were so attracted by him, and they wanted to receive him. And so Prabhupada also says that how drunkards are attached to drunkards, like that. Because the people were saintly and Maharaj Pṛthu was saintly, they were to receive the saints, right? And then Pṛthu Mahārāja, he gives exemplary reception. Like first he tries to receive them, and then how he actually received them. Let me just read the translation of 4.5. When the great sages accepted their reception according to the instruction of the Shastras and finally took their seats offered by the king, influenced by the glories of the sages, immediately bowed down. Thus he worshipped the four Kumāras, just by bowing down to them. After this, the king took the water which had washed the lotus feet of the Kumāras and sprinkled over his hair. By such respectful actions, the king, as an exemplary personality, showed how to receive a spiritually advanced personality. Okay, so now let's discuss on this. He bows down to them, and then he washes their feet, and he puts it on his head. We have all seen that, right? It's our culture, but it's only after we coming here we don't see that being done in any other culture. But even though it exists very subtly, like because you always want to please your boss, you know, it happens in a very perverted, cheap manner. You know, it doesn't happen in a very dignified manner. But everybody respects the elders. That is there, but it's not exemplified, and it's not very cultured. But we see how the culture is in those days. Like Pṛthu Mahārāja didn't think that he is a king and he should not offer obeisances. It is said in the Vedas that if we see an exalted person and if we fail to offer obeisances, then our ayush, the lifetime gets reduced. They don't get anything because they don't even, the spiritual personalities don't even want to get any respect. They don't care for it. But sometimes even for their dress, like one has to give respect to them and bow down to them. And so Pṛthu Mahārāja does that. He offered his obeisances, and it's such a simple act, right? We say it's a dandavats. That's what he did, right? Dandavat means there is a stick, right? If you leave the stick, can you tell whether the stick will fall this side or this side? It will just fall. Like that, when one sees an exalted personality, we should immediately offer obeisances and not think about anything. That's why it's called dandavats. So he offered his dandavats, and by doing that, we get lots of sukriti. And all these sukritis, they are not ordinary. It's like a bank account grows increasing by all these things. You know how we have a credit card, we buy, we get the thing. Like we get the travel card, United Explorer travel card, right? You buy $20,000 in a year, but you had a reward points of 20,000 miles. You understand? Like that, these spiritual activities, we keep doing it because the Shastra says, but our reward points are getting increased. What are those reward points? It will be easy for us and to do the devotional service. It will not be difficult, it will become easy, and our desire will. There are two ways in which we can do devotional service. One is because somebody is pushing us, because parents are saying, or you want something, or Shastras say it, but as a duty. But there is another level where you can perform the same thing with love, with eagerness, because I want to do it, because you get happiness from that. It's a very difficult stage it's very difficult to move from that dutiful stage to the stage of spontaneousness. So all these things come because of those reward points that we gain by doing what we are supposed to do, and the attitude with which we do. So and then he offers obeisances, and then he washes the feet. Like these days, like people talk about so many things, right? But according to the Shastras, there are three things that are very precious in this world. Only very rarely people know that, because we think that our bank account is precious, our ornaments and wealth that we have is precious, and nothing else matters. Actually, and if people are little bit above a certain level, maybe they think that having some good relationship is precious. But beyond this, there are three precious things. One is the water that has washed the feet of a Mahabhagavat, of a pure devotee. Second is the remnants of the pure devotee. And then the third is the dust from their lotus feet. So now you may ask how are these things are going to help me? Because you eat the remnants of food offered to a, like uchishtam, the remnants of the pure devotee. How is it going to affect you? It does. But I don't know the process. But that doesn't mean it does not work, right? Because you feel body pain, you go to, it's extremely painful because you went for hiking or you went on a yatra or something like that. You did something and your body is paining. And you go to from your home, you take a small Brufen and you take it. And then 4 hours later, how do you feel? Pain is gone. But do you ask the question like, oh, how did this small tablet remove the pain in my body? We don't ask that, right? But there is a science behind it. So there is also a science behind these three things. Like how bad diseases get through food, through so many things. Like that, because they are so devoted to the Lord and their heart is full of love, they can transmit it to others through these three things. That's why it is said that they are very precious. So it does happen. So whenever we get the opportunity to have the remnants of the Vaishnavas, we should take that with all eagerness because it will help us to develop the same taste for Krishna consciousness. So he does that in front of all his citizens. He didn't feel like he's a great king. Can you envision? Because we have to imagine all these things. Like 4 small boys sitting on the throne and this king of the world falling at their feet and washing their feet. Like people will say that it's a joke. But let's see what they are going to talk. And then we will know the exalted glories of the Kumāras. And Prabhupada also says that a little bit about these 4 Kumāras, because these 4 Kumāras are elder to Shiva. How do anyone know the story of that? No, I don't know. Because Brahma, like how we go to work, right? And then we do something, we come back, we sleep, we go, and then we do the work. Like maybe we write program or we test or we do something like that. Like that, for Brahma, he sleeps, he wakes up, and then there is no, like partial creation is annihilated and he has to start creating. Like that. And then he dies, and then somebody else comes as Brahma, and then they don't know what to do. And then he meditates on Krishna by that first prayer that we read. That is the prayer with which he glorifies Krishna. Because when if you have a startup, if you have worked in a startup or started one, you will know this experience, right? When you're creating something, you don't have anybody in the company, right? You're just by all alone and you don't know what to do. So he prays to Krishna through those prayers, this Brahma Samhita, because Brahma sang those songs. So Brahma, and then Vishnu appears and he tells them and empowers them to create the universe. So Brahma starts creating. So he creates these 4 Kumāras. And then he says that you go and increase the progeny. Like any company you have to expand, right? So he says the 4 Kumāras, so you go and you expand. And then the Kumāras say no. They say that they are like very elevated souls. They know that if they grow up, then this desire of sense gratification increases when youth comes. and it's very difficult to remain Krishna conscious. So they don't want to grow more than 5 years old, because the desire for sense gratification is not that powerful in the bodies of babies, right? Because it has not been evolved to and not ready for such type of sense gratification. So they said, no, we'll remain 5 years. So even until today, they are eternally 5 years old, like that. And then Brahma gets very angry, because if you don't do what the father says, daddy gets angry. So Brahma gets angry, and then from his eye he produces, through his anger he produces Rudra. That's Lord Shiva. So Shiva came second, right? And the first came the 4 Kumāras. That's why these 4 Kumāras are even elders, even to the Shiva, even to Lord Shiva. So that's how they get created. So they always remain Naishtika Brahmacharis because they are babies. So that's, and Pṛthu Mahārāja envisions all these things, because before you invite a personality, if you know their greatness, it's very difficult, it's very easy to serve them, because you know the rareness of the opportunity that you have got to serve such exalted souls, And so with respect and restraint, he puts forward his questions. So let's go to the next section. Next page, Prabhu. Okay, the first thing, can we go, oh sorry, it's mine. Okay, rare darshana. So first thing he realizes is how rare it is to see the Kumāras. It is rare even to see the devotees, like how many billions and billions of people are there in this world, but how many devotees are there? Very less. But like even if we travel from one place to another, I was traveling to India a few months ago, and I had like so many stops, and because I booked the ticket urgently at last minute, I had lots of stopovers. And then it was like I was like suffocating, not being able to see anybody who like devotees, because the world is so filled with different types of people. But then it took so many hours to go and land in a temple and you see devotees finally. So it's very rare. Then what to speak of the rareness of having the association of the Kumāras, right? So Pṛthu Mahārāja is speaking, my dear king, auspiciousness personified, it's very difficult for even the mystic yogis to see you. Indeed, you're very rarely seen. I do not know what kind of pious activity I performed for you to grace me by appearing before me without difficulty. So, we talked about the Ajñāta Sukriti, right? Like suppose the Ajñāta Sukriti, it's very much required. Suppose you are visiting a temple, and there was something lying around, and you take that and put it on the trash. Your credit increases, And what is the culmination of all this? Like we are getting reward points, right? And then when the time comes, we use the reward points to book the ticket, right? Like that, all this Ajñāta Sukriti, that we help others without even expecting anything from them, all these things culminate in the association of a pure devotee. Only when people have that much amount of credits, they are able to see that. So one disciple of Prabhupada was, I think Prabhupada was explaining this, like so much we have, but then one devotee said, I don't think I have done all those things. So how am I able to associate with you, Prabhupada? He was asking, and then Prabhupada said, because I made that up for you. You understand? Because sometimes the airline itself gives like 50% off, or some new airlines 100% off. You understand? Because airlines itself gives the points. Like that, Prabhupada in this age of Kali is so merciful that he makes up for all these credits that we are supposed to have on our own. You understand? So, and then if you heard what I read, Pṛthu Mahārāja says that I do not know what pious activity I performed to be able to see you. So, we should not take anything for granted, because especially the exalted Vaishnavas, they are great. No matter what happens, we should always respect devotees, because they are great. There are millions of souls, and they're engaged in so many things. But devotees, they are willing. There is something in their heart that makes them, that attracts them towards Krishna and to other devotees, and we should respect that. And Krishna will appreciate us for that. So Pṛthu Mahārāja is humbling himself by saying that I do not know what I did, out of gratitude and humility. It's just melting the heart of the Kumāras, saying that I got this opportunity to see you. And then Maharaja Pṛthu further continues, says that any person upon whom the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas are pleased can achieve anything. If we please the Brahmanas and Vaishnavas, we can achieve anything, which is very rare to obtain in this world. You understand? As well as after death. Not only that, but one also receives the favor of the auspicious Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, who accompany the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas. So, pleasing the Vaishnavas and the Brahmanas is so nice. And pleasing means what? It's, you do small thing, like Victoria does lots of preaching activities and she pleases. Like Vaisheshika Prabhu says that you have done nice and she has brought so many people. It's like she has inspired so many people to chant, or somebody washes the pots, or they do so many things. And it pleases the Vaishnavas. And when we please the Vaishnavas, what happens? We can do anything that's rare. Like, let's see, if we try to please our boss, what do we get? Maybe we get promotion. But are we happy with that? No. Because then whatever we get by pleasing a materialistic person, it ends with death. Death kills everything. Death takes away everything. But what is it said here? That very rare to obtain in this world as well as after death. It's not only in this life, and it's also in the next life. So if we are very intelligent, we should use our time and in thinking about how we can please the Vaishnavas, how we can please Guru. That's why in the last verse of Shikshashtakam, Prabhupada says that Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasadat nagati kutopi. You know, like Dhyayanstu vamstasya yashyastri sandhyam vande guru shri charanaravindam. If Krishna is pleased, if devotees are pleased, Krishna is pleased. Okay? So we should try to please the Vaishnavas. Very, very intelligent thing to do. Because it'll give, like any activity we do, we always think that what is the return on investment, right? All companies to do, what is ROI? If we are looking for ROI, this is the thing that will give the topmost ROI, pleasing the Vaishnavas. And okay, but you can be here in the screen only, Prabhu, that's fine. So, the Pṛthu Mahārāja is also saying that the Kumāras are going from one planet to another planet, but nobody can see them. You understand? Because it takes one to know one. Only if you are of that quality. Like I was just saying that when Einstein was presenting the theory of relativity, only one person in that entire group of scientists could understand it to some extent. You understand? If you don't have knowledge at that level, you won't recognize. You'll just let it go. So that's what Pṛthu Mahārāja is saying. Like, so much so that super soul is within us, right? Paramatma is within us. Do we all know that only certain people know that Paramatma is within them, but that doesn't mean that Paramatma is not within everybody. But only a few people have realized that I have Paramatma within myself and I have a connection with him. Right? So he is saying that, Prabhu, can you move a little down? Like, yes, 9th verse, yes. It's so difficult to understand the super soul that even Shiva and Brahma cannot understand. Now, who is Shiva? Shiva is the topmost Vaishnava. And who is Brahma? He is the topmost engineer. He creates all these universes. He creates the creators of this material world. And even he cannot understand that. But some ordinary person who's walking on this planet like you and me can be exalted even than all these souls, because he has understood what it means to please the Vaishnavas and Vishnu. And in the so he's just saying that, and then Pṛthu Mahārāja is expanding on who are the fortunate householders and who are the unfortunate householders. Like when somebody comes, right, you just glorify them. It's good for them. So Pṛthu Mahārāja is saying, it's so rare for me. How did I get an opportunity to serve you? Oh, even Brahma and Shiva cannot understand the super soul, but you have understood. How did I get this opportunity? Like that he's speaking. So he's saying that a person who's not very rich and is attached to the family life becomes highly glorified when saintly persons are present in his home. The master and servants who are engaged in offering the exalted visitors water, a sitting place, and paraphernalia for reception are glorified, and the home itself is glorified. So, you all can relate to this, right? But these days, it's called Atiti Devo Bhava, right? Any guest is called Atiti in Sanskrit. Why they are called Atiti is because they can come anytime. Titi means time, the meeting time. Without any titi they can come. So any visitor can come home at any time. That's why they are called Atiti. And Atiti Devo Bhava. So Atiti is like demigod. And then that's like the Karma Kanda principle. Right? But here, beyond the Devas are pure devotees. Right? So when a pure devotee comes to your home, how we are supposed to serve him. But these days, if we have to go even to a relative's place to discuss any important thing, 2 months ago or even years before, like one has to plan, settle the time, and then even for material things, like if we go on a wrong time when they are watching a serial or something like that, like people get irritated because first of all, like because if we are able to receive anybody in our home at any time, it really shows what kind of a personality we are. First thing is the house has to be clean all the time, and then it shows like what is a real lifestyle, only when we go to somebody's place, because we know how we live in our house, because I know so many things to do. Sometimes things are not clean. It's very good to receive devotees, because whenever I clean the house for devotees to come, I always think that I should invite them every day, because when a devotees come, they push unwanted things away from the house and they make the house clean just by saying that they'll come. Then how much they will make anarthas, they will remove from our hearts. That we don't know, So we should always invite devotees into our home, not only the devotees but also their attendants. Like when Durvasa Muni, Prabhupada says that Durvasa Muni had 60,000 disciples. Wherever he goes, they have to feed his disciples also. All the time, 60,000. And Ramanujacharya used to have 1,000 sannyasis, 700 or 2,000 sannyasis with him all the time. He's called Yatiraj. All the sannyasis traveling with him all the time. Because people who are very rich, they were just pouring money at the feet of Ramanujacharya because of his purity, and they know that he will use it in the right place. And he was using it to maintain all these brahmacharis and sannyasis and inspiring them to go out and preach and like that. So we have to invite them, like if we have the facilities, like offer them nice place and give them food and treat them. Like Obama comes to our home, how would we treat? Like devotees are no less, much more than that. So we should respect them and treat them well. If that is not possible, at least give them water. Make them sit and give them water. If one cannot give even a sitting place, it is said in the purport that one should just sit and cry that he cannot do that. That he is so unfortunate that he cannot visit a Vaishnava. So why do these devotees go to the householder's home? Because it's not that they get something. It's not for anything that we give that they come. They come because wherever the place they go, it becomes tirtha. That place becomes a spiritual place. So if a householder needs to be really proud of, the only thing he needs to be proud of is when a devotee comes to his home, because his house has now become a tirtha. Understand? So we should always serve the devotees, invite them home. It need not be a big thing, but even for small things, we can just invite them and serve them nicely. It's good for us. And again, the activity that gives the highest ROI, right? And then the next one, on the contrary, and this is what happens today, all over the world, even though full of all opulence and material prosperity, we see big houses, right? Mansions. Any householder's house where the devotees of the Lord are never allowed to come in, and where there is no water for washing their feet, is to be considered a tree in which all venomous serpents live. Means, who is he comparing to the venomous serpents? The residents of the house. Only 3 people will be there, but the house will be like a mansion, right? Means nothing wrong with that, it's their private thing. But then there will be dogs, there will be people standing outside, and the spiritual persons cannot walk in because their heart is envious and they are not eager or inclined. It's not bad about having all those opulences, but how much inclination do you have to invite the sadhus? But they don't have time for all these things. Why it is compared to the servants is because of the enviousness. Envy, serpent, if we are envious, in the next life we'll be born as serpents. Because that envy becomes so condensed that it will be forced into the body of a serpent. And the serpent is so envious, for no reason it will bite somebody. Like other animals, they'll bite only if they provoke them, attack them. But serpents, they will bite you even if you don't do anything. And all the animals can be tamed. Tamed means like you can catch them when they are young and teach them some things, like in circus and all they do, right? They can be tamed. Even lion, tigers, we see like so many videos that come now how they can also be tamed. But serpent cannot be tamed according to the Shastras because it's very envious. At any time, it will harm you for no reason. So people who are living in such householders are compared to the snakes. And it's also, the snakes are very warm all the time, it seems. And they go and take shelter of the sandalwood tree. Sandalwood tree is very cold. So that's why that's the thing is given, like they go and take shelter there. So Prabhupada explains all these points in the purport. And then we'll go to the next one. Maharaja Pṛthu offered his welcome to the 4 Kumāras, addressing them as the best of the Brahmanas. Vaishnavas are the best of the Brahmanas. He welcomed them saying, from the beginning of your birth, you strictly observed the vows of celibacy. Because by being celibate, 75% of self-realization is done just by being celibate. They were celibates. And although you're experienced in the path of liberation, you're keeping yourself just like small children. Because we discussed that, right? Why they remain small children. Let's go to the next one. Pṛthu Mahārāja inquired from the sages. Prabhu, can we go to verse 13? Pṛthu Mahārāja inquired from the sages about persons entangled in this dangerous material existence because of their previous actions. Could such persons whose only aim is sense gratification be blessed with any good fortune? So, this is like somebody coming to my home, like to our home, and we are just saying that, oh, I am so sinful. I have done so much sinful activities. What good fortune do I have to have the association of great exalted souls like you? But Maharaj Pṛthu is also making a nice point here that persons entangled in this dangerous material existence, why? Because of their previous actions. Not because somebody else is doing this, somebody else is doing that. You understand? So for that's why it's very important. We all, the very fact that we are in this material world, there are two, let's assume a prison house, right? There are 2 types of people in the prison house. One is people who have to be corrected, prisoners, and other are people who are there to correct others, who are like a warden, like that. Now, material world itself is a prison. Is it easy or difficult to determine where we are, or whether we are guardians or whether we are prisoners? We are all prisoners. So there are 2 types of living entities, but all the souls like pure devotees, they are nitya siddhas, they are eternally liberated, but they come as guardians to reclaim all of us and inspire us to do devotional service, right? So when we are prisoners, like there is no, people say devotees are rare. Like in a prison house, how many warden is there? Few, right? So there is no point in saying that, how many people are following this culture? How many people are chanting Hare Krishna? So why should I chant, right? Sometimes we go by numbers, but it's not like that. Because we are all prisoners and everybody will go towards illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, meat eating. The entire population go after that. But it's very rare, only a handful of people try to become a good citizens, the good prisoners, so they can become citizens in the spiritual world, right? So it's very rare. Devotees are very rare who have the right attitude. So now, people who are suffering, they are prisoners, they cannot blame anybody else. Because of our previous actions, only we are suffering. Nobody else is the reason. Because it is said in the Vedas that, there are millions of cows and calves. Assume that the cow left somewhere. If you leave the calf, inside that millions of cows, the calf will go and find its mother. Like that, any activity that we perform today will exactly come and catch us. No matter how many births we take, how many lifetimes we take, it's just there. But then we keep blaming, right? For example, I was just hearing that who is our father, who is our mother, who is our brother? Because now father, mother, brother, the people fight even within families, Like in olden days, the relationship was so strong that father and mother, first of all, they were interested in the welfare of the kids, and then there was so much nice relationship, like the Pandavas, the brothers were so loving and caring, they were together. But now there is envy amongst everybody else, right? But still, it is, nobody can blame them, because when we are born, so according to our karma, like we are living here, and then we die, because somehow or other, whether we are devotees or non-devotees, everybody dies. And then once we die, depending upon our attitude, we go and get correct in the correction facility in the hell. Yamaraj treats us. And then, suppose if one is destined to become, like for example, a pig, for example, like what does it eat? Stool. So it will be trained in the correction facility to be happy by eating stool. And then that living entity comes through the rain, you understand, and falls on the ground. And then, like suppose, like we have somebody gets born in a Brahmin family, somebody is in a Vaishya family, somebody gets birth in a poor family, like that. So whatever the living entity is destined to get, that soul through rain falls on the ground, and then whatever the plants that grow, the man eats it, right? And then the living entity takes shelter there, and then it gets transformed into the womb, and then he gets birth. Who is orchestrating all these things? The material nature orchestrates all these things, and nobody can escape this process of how all these things happen. But who is the reason for me being born as a handicapped or not beautiful or anything like that? It's because of my previous actions. The Yamadutas don't see, they do not invent some activity or the result of some activity that you never did. Only for the activities that you did, they give the return on investment. So how can I claim, like suppose if I get into I don't see the red light, and I'm thinking something and I just go through, somebody comes and hits me, or I go and hit somebody, can I blame the car? Can I blame the red light? No, it's you, because of your activity, right? So because of our actions, we are suffering in this material world. Exactly like whatever we did, that much punishment we get in this world. So there is no need to blame, because when we have this type of attitude that I am the reason for my suffering and everybody else is giving, Vaisheshika Prabhu gives this very nice example of it's packaged, Maya presents your karma in a nice packet, customized for everybody, at the right time. Right? But how do I get out of this? By hearing, by chanting, Krishna can remove all this karma. Like how when Obama, when he left his office, he pardoned many prisoners, right? Mercy, like that. Nobody can question that. Nobody can question that. Like that, by chanting, by developing, by repentance, and by thinking that I did this mistake. Now I know why I'm suffering. So with that, if we are repentant, then how will Krishna know? Krishna lives in our heart as Paramatma. So he knows, and then he will relieve us of this sin. So I was at Hitachi Data Systems. So they developed this big storage systems. And after working there for so many years, I came to know that 60% of their revenue comes from pornography, because they store lots of data, images and videos and things like that. But why I'm trying this is like how at one instance they have some software, like when they sell the software, they put something in that, like there is another software that's running inside the machines that they sell. So that machine goes to like many customers, like banks and so many places. So that software that's running is connected to a main server at the Hitachi Data Systems data center, and all the systems that are installed anywhere in the world sends a lifeline, like it's kind of a lifeline. It sends the status message of whether it's alive or not to Hitachi Data Systems data center. So in one bank in Europe, the machine shut down and it was affecting. So they were all having a meeting, and then they were saying that they should call Hitachi Data Systems for support. And then even before they made the call, a support person from Hitachi Data Systems went to that person and asked that, I see that you have a trouble, how can I help you? You understand? Why? Because there is a system. Even before the customer knows that their system is going live, the manufacturer knows that it's a problem, and he wants to take care of, wants to keep his customers satisfied, right? And doesn't want them to suffer. Of course, in the material world, it's all about sales. But I'm just saying, that's the thing. But same thing, we are all parts and parcels of Krishna. We all came from him, you know. And for some reason, we just want to enjoy, and we want to be ourselves like a rebellious child, right? We are all suffering here. But the moment we turn our attention to him, Krishna knows, because he is within us. And then so, oh, now he's getting corrected. Let me give him a chance. So that's why they say we take one step towards Krishna, Krishna takes 100 steps towards us. You understand? Because Krishna is there within us. So he always takes more steps, and he is more eager to have us back and be a satisfied customer than the level of enthusiasm that we have to be with him and be happy. You understand? So that's why whatever the mind perceives, that it can achieve or something like that. As a man, there is a book called As a Man Thinketh, and this is what the author says in his book. So that's why we should always think in the right path. We should not invest on other, because thinking is such a great, that's what differentiates us from animal life. So, and that if the thinking power is wasted in what movie I'll see, or how will I enjoy my senses, like that, then all the power gets wasted. But if we use that thinking power in, how can I go back to Krishna? What service can I do? How can I purify myself? How can I overcome this difficulty that I have? You know, like always motivated to go forward in Krishna consciousness. It doesn't matter what our previous activities are. From that point, we always keep going forward. You understand? So we should always, if we have this knowledge, where is the room for depression and all those things, right? Those are all negative things. Prabhupada says that depression is because of our bad karma in the past. That's why people are depressed and lonely. It's because of previous karma. But we have all the power within ourselves. If we read, then we get knowledge, and we apply that knowledge, and we think in the right way, then there is no point in feeling depressed. It's like you do something, you chant, you read, at every moment. It's like, the soul is always looking for something adventurous and something like it can do, that's why people spend so much time in gaming, because challenge after challenge, right? They just go from one level to like go on, I have read stories where the whole day and whole night and until the next day, they just sit in the game because they get so engrossed. But Krishna consciousness is much more than that. Like 7 days and 7 nights. Pṛthu Mahārāja Parikshit didn't eat anything. He was so eager to hear Krishna consciousness. So it's so addictive. So the real addiction is in the holy names, hearing the glories of Krishna and speaking the glories of Krishna. So we should get addicted to that type of activity, and get rid of all our problems, like deep-rooted problems, and then be free, really free in this world. No karma can affect us after that. So let's go to the next verse. Okay, then Pṛthu Mahārāja is continuing. Pṛthu Mahārāja continued, "My dear sirs, there is no need to ask about your good and bad fortune because you are always absurd in spiritual bliss. The mental concoction of auspiciousness and inauspiciousness does not exist in you." Let's read the next verse also. "I am completely assured that personalities like you are the only friends for persons who are blazing in the fire of material existence. I therefore ask you how in this material world we can very soon achieve the ultimate goal of life." Now, you see, in the previous verse, Maharaj Pṛthu is, when he's asking, like when we see somebody, it's like, how are you? How is home? How are things? How are that? Like those normal things he's saying, that it's like, are you good? Are you bad? You know, we ask so many things with the materialistic people. Such auspiciousness and inauspiciousness does not exist in exalted souls. There is no need to ask about their welfare, because if they are devotees, their life is full of auspiciousness. It's not assumed. It's a fact that they are always happy. It's understood. Pṛthu Mahārāja knows that. And then he is saying that the question that he is asking is not like how I can become a millionaire. The question that he is asking is, everybody is burning in the fire of material existence, right? How can they attain the goal of life? Maharaj Parikshit also asked such questions. Now, Pṛthu Mahārāja himself was so great that Vishnu appeared in his sacrifice. Like we do japa every day. Japa is more powerful even than Ashwamedha Yajna. But how many times Krishna appears in front of us? Like we know that our level of devotion, right? So Vishnu appears in front of Pṛthu Mahārāja and talks to him personally. But now, such a person, wouldn't he know what is the purpose of human life and how to overcome the blazing fire of material existence? But for whom is he asking this question? For us. Because he is asking this question on behalf of all the suffering souls. So that is why we have to be there when a discussion takes place. You know, when there is a meeting, like in an office, right, so many meetings take place, especially the business things. When your customers are coming, prospects are coming, you don't want to miss any meeting, right? Because if you miss the meeting, you lose it. Like that much eagerness, if we consider that our real business is to go back to Godhead. And every lecture that happens, like especially when devotees come and they give the real lecture, that is a business meeting, because that meeting is related to our real business of going back to Godhead. Because in that assembly, even if we are completely ignorant, because there are other souls who are like, you know, if you go to a business meeting, why do you go there? Because you learn, right? Because there are sellers who sell $1 million every month. So you want to know what type of questions they ask, and you want to associate with them, you know, have this relationship. So in spiritual life also, we have to have such kind of associations and learn from them, like how they do it. We have to learn the art, and we should always be eager to do that. So he is asking that question on behalf of us. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is always anxious to elevate the living entities who are his parts and parcels. For their special benefit, the Lord travels all over the world in the form of self-realized persons like you. This is a brilliant revelation that Pṛthu Mahārāja is saying that God doesn't come directly, right? Like suppose there are so many activities that one person, like for example the President of America, right? There are hundreds of countries in the world. Like suppose if he had to do something in some country, but at the same time he has something else to do, what does he do? He sends his representative, right? And in that country, what type of what type of reception does he receive? He receives the same reception as that of the President of America, right? Like that, these devotees who come into the world are representatives of Krishna. So they are treated like that. And they also carry the love of Krishna within their heart. In fact, Krishna says Arjuna to declare it boldly that my devotees will not perish. Why did Krishna didn't give that declaration directly? Because even Krishna is afraid, because sometimes Krishna breaks his promises. Like for example, he said he will not fight, but he broke his promise for Arjuna, right? He took the Chakradari, he took the chakra to kill Bhishma, right? But he declares, he asks his devotees to declare, because whenever his devotees say something or anything happens to his devotees, Krishna will not keep quiet. You understand? And another thing is, if Krishna comes and tells something, it may be difficult for us to practice it, because Krishna is God. But if Krishna's devotees come and tell us, there is high chance that we might take it seriously, because they are also like us. They are also devotees. They are also born. They also have family. They also go to work. They also have kids. Then we start thinking, oh, they are doing it. Why can't I do that? You understand? That's why devotees are more merciful, even more than Krishna. And devotees can make us progress in Krishna consciousness much faster even than Krishna himself, because they are more compassionate. That's why Krishna himself says that like Shiva declares that Vishnu, of all the worship, topmost worship is worship of Vishnu. And more important than that, like elevated than that, is the worship of his devotees. Because the devotees are so rare and they are so elevated in Krishna consciousness. So we should know all these things so that we can take advantage of the opportunities that are being presented to us through these what Prabhupada has done. Like there is a temple. If there is no temple, it's very difficult, right? Like where will we meet? Like what can we discuss? Like every place has its own significance, right? Like for example, in a room there is kitchen, there is a bathroom, there is bedroom, like that. Why can't we cook in the bedroom? We can, but we don't do that because the paraphernalia and the appliances that are required for cooking are in the kitchen. Like that, this place is a temple, and it's very conducive and easy because the paraphernalia is there and the association is there. So we should take major advantage of places like this and opportunities like this to discuss about Krishna consciousness. And then one becomes pure. We may, like a devotee, make every place, wherever he goes, as a temple, because he will carry that attitude within his heart. So we should realize all these things. There are 60 verses in this chapter. I thought I'll summarize all of them, but now I understand how difficult it is to summarize. So we will be stopping here because at 10 o'clock there is Arati. But if you would want to add anything or if you have any questions, please, you can ask now. Or if you have any points that you want to share. Because of all the instructions that the Sanat Kumāras are saying, that one point is very important, which is the essence of this chapter, is that detachment from material activities and attachment to Krishna is the only solution for all the sufferings that we undergo in this world. Okay? Because of the lust that's there in our heart, we become all our real goal of life gets frustrated because of lust. Because, for example, Ravana, he had lust for Sita, right? And then he lost all his intelligence, because he tried to get it, and when you don't get it, you become angry. Like small kids, small kids may show the anger by sitting in the middle of the street and screaming. But as adults, we are also like kids. We want something, maybe not a toy, but maybe a car, real car. But if we don't get it, we also become frustrated. But we don't sit in the middle of the street and cry, but we plan on how to get it, or we become depressed, or we want to take revenge on that person who stopped from getting us. We also act like that. And then by thinking about all these things, why do we become depressed, or why do we become angry? Because we didn't get what we wanted to get. And why did we want to get that? Because we want to enjoy it. Right? Means I'll drive in this car, or I'll eat that food, or something like that. I want to enjoy. So when I didn't get that, I became angry. And when I become angry and I want to revenge or take revenge, or I want to prove, or anything like that, and then our intelligence gets lost, because we don't think what is good and what is bad. Ravana didn't think that he already had so many sons. He already had so many wives who are most beautiful. Nothing he thinked, just Sita. That's it. So intelligence gets bewildered, And then when there is no intelligence, what is the use of all the knowledge that you gathered? Ravana knows the Vedas so perfectly. He is the son of Pulastya Muni. He's so much knowledge he has, but all the knowledge were rendered useful. And now what? The soul is lost. He did the act, right? The soul is lost. When the soul is lost means you perform the activity, and then your whole purpose of coming here and the benefit for the soul, everything we forget when we do that, right? So Prabhupada is, and the Kumāras are saying, and Prabhupada is also emphasizing that this enjoying mentality is the cause of our suffering, and it frustrates all our progress in Krishna consciousness. So we should give that up. How do we give it up? Very simple. By chanting and hearing. Like play something in your iPod, play something in your iPhone. It's that very easy. Keep playing something all the time, 24 hours a day. Keep hearing Krishna consciousness. That's all you do. Now what we do is we put ourselves in the sun. The sun, it sterilizes everything. Like that word of Krishna emanating, the message of Krishna emanating from the lips of a pure devotee, it will enter through our ears. Like the ornament of the ear, Prabhupada is saying in the purpose, Sanat Kumāra is also saying, is not the big rings that we wear. The real ornament is the hearing of the glories of Krishna and the qualities of Krishna. So it's an emergency. That is the emergency. So if we do that, the chanting and hearing, that will eliminate and cure us of the disease of this mentality to enjoy in the material world. And simply by hearing, because in olden days when they have to hear something and if they have a doubt, they have to travel so much distance to come and sit and hear from a person. But you see, this technology has gone so far, like one iPod can store the entire, all the lectures Prabhupada gave in whole lifetime and much more, right? So we should use technology for that, to hear and chant the glories of Krishna. So with that understanding, so whenever we go for a meeting, there should be an action item. So the main action item from today's meeting is that we take one step forward toward Krishna consciousness. You make a plan, your hearing plan, how you're going to hear every day. At least it could be at least even a small thing, like maybe you're driving in a car. Keep a CD or a USB in your car and play it. That's all you need to do. So please, that's one action item that we can take and make it important in our life to hear about Krishna as much as we can. So by that, we can make tremendous progress in our lives, both materially and spiritually also. So with this, we'll end the class, and thank you all very much for hearing. Hare Krishna.